cast of folks, particularly from a law enforcement perspective, starting with our Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, Florida Department of Law Enforcement Commissioner Mark Glass, DBPR Secretary Melanie Griffin. We have Representatives Plakin, Bankson, and Albert. Winter Haven, of course, Police Chief Vance Monroe. We have Winter Haven Mayor Brian Yates, Daytona Beach Police Chief Young, members of Winter Haven City Commission, and Peggy Rayner, mother of Officer Jason Rayner, and you'll hear a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. I know people in Polk County know we're a law and order state because I've done a lot of stuff with Grady over the years, and we take pride in upholding the rule of law and having safe communities, and it's made a big difference in the lives of many, many people to be able to have strong public safety and to be able to raise their kids or to retire in a safe environment. And the way you do that is to have very strong policies at the state level that put the criminal on the defensive and support victims and law-abiding citizens. And if you don't have that, then it just doesn't work. Now, if you have that, you still need folks to actually implement that on the local level, and we have that in Florida. We have, I think, the best law enforcement in the country, from police departments to sheriff's departments, and they're doing the good work every day, and we're proud to have their back. Proud to have their back financially because we've given a lot of money over the years, but more, I think even more so, having strong policies. I mean, imagine if we had policies in Florida like they have in places like California where they release felons early. You think that they're just going to start becoming choir boys? Not usually. Like, it can happen. Don't get me wrong. And I love a redemption arc. I love rehabilitation. But when you have some of these people that are career criminals, they are going to reoffend. And so you have to keep them off the street and make them serve their entire sentence. When you have situations where you're springing people out of jail with no cash bail and letting them just go right back on the street like they do in some of these other states, it's been disastrous. I mean, even here in Florida, we had a situation where you had a guy get convicted of trying to travel to meet some minor that he was going to abuse, and convicted, and the judge let him go home until his sentencing happened. And then he ended up murdering this 5-year-old girl. So this stuff is just, you got to have the right frame of mind. So we're proud to have had those good policies. Now, I've seen a little bit of discussion about some of the stuff that happens in some of these areas. There's a couple spots around Florida, where you have some of these youth that are out there, and they're saying that they're teen takeovers and they just take over certain areas. I just want to be very clear. We do not recognize any teen takeover. If you try that, you are doing that at your peril. And if the local officials are not holding you accountable, I'll put somebody in there who will hold you accountable. We are not going to let the inmates run the asylum in the free state of Florida. Now, today, we have a number of bills, and we've done a lot, and sometimes it's like hard to even find because we've been there, done that. I mean, there are other states that are trying to do what we did 4 or 5 years ago on issues related to law and order and other things too. I mean, I hear talk about we've got to keep boys out of girls' sports, and I agree with that. We did that 5 or 6 years ago in Florida, and they're still fighting that, at the federal level and other parts. And so we're usually ahead of the curve on all this stuff, but we want to keep the momentum going. So we've got a number of pieces of legislation here that I'm going to be signing. So I'll go over really quickly some of them, and then we'll have some speakers, and then I'll sign them, and we'll make it official. So Senate Bill 432, it's trafficking penalties for, and I don't know, xylazine. I've never been able to pronounce that. They call it Trang, a dangerous drug that is increasingly being mixed with illicit narcotics. The bill targets criminals who package and market dangerous substances in ways designed to attract young people. In addition, the legislation addresses the growing misuse of nitrous oxide through provisions known as Meg's Law, named in honor of Meg Caldwell. This measure recognizes a young Florida woman whose life was tragically cut short after struggling with nitrous oxide addiction. So we've led the nation in taking decisive action against emerging drug threats, and we're continuing to do that with this bill today. I'm also proud to sign Senate Bill 1332. This strengthens Florida's Career Offender Registration Act, provides law enforcement better tools to monitor some of the most serious repeat offenders in our state. And as I alluded to earlier, you have some people that will simply re-offend. It's just the nature. You have some people that learn their lesson. We see them on the pardons. They come up to the clemency board and they get convicted of something when they're 20, and then they come at 55 and have had a good life and have been law-abiding, so then they ask to get that off their record. And so sometimes we do that, and that's appropriate. But that is not always the case, and indeed maybe not even usually the case. So right now, career offenders, now, because of this legislation, career offenders will be required to register in person with their local sheriff's office and provide more comprehensive identifying information. They got to report changes to their residence, employment, vehicles, phone numbers, and complete annual in-person registration. This will improve coordination between local law enforcement, our state agencies, including our Department of Corrections, to make sure that this offender information is accurate. And it also increases accountability for offenders who fail to comply with these requirements. I'm also proud to sign House Bill 429, legislation modernizing Florida's criminal gang statutes by expanding the criteria that can be used to establish gang involvement. You know, I signed the bill, the anti-Sharia bill earlier this year that allows law enforcement to identify, and then we can ratify, I think, governor and cabinet designated terror organizations. And so you have some of these like the Muslim Brotherhood, the Council of American Islamic Relations, like that, no doubt, right? But you also have like Tren de Aragua that should be categorized as a designated, and we will be doing that after July 1st when that legislation takes effect. So gang violence and gang activity is a scourge, and it's something that we need to use all the resources we have to crack down on. So this bill recognizes online admissions of gang affiliation, gang-related social media activity, identification by criminal gangs themselves, and other modern indicators of gang participation. It's basically updating the law to reflect the reality of how you would prove that in this digital information age. The legislation helps ensure that these enhanced penalties can be applied when the evidence demonstrates this active gang involvement. I'm also signing Senate Bill 156, the Officer Jason Raynor Act. The legislation honors the memory of Officer Jason Raynor, a Daytona Beach police officer who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty while serving his community. The legislation strengthens protections for law enforcement officers and ensures those who attack, injure, or kill officers face serious consequences. This bill makes clear that individuals cannot use force to resist officers who are acting in good faith while carrying out their duties. Disagreements about an arrest should be settled in a courtroom, not through violence on the street. The bill also strengthens penalties for violent crimes committed against law enforcement officers, including increasing consequences for battery on an officer, enhancing penalties for those who violently resist arrest. In addition, this legislation ensures individuals convicted of manslaughter against law enforcement officers and other specified public safety personnel face the toughest penalties available under Florida law. Message we send with this bill is simple. If you attack a law enforcement officer in the state of Florida, prepare to be held accountable. Finally, I'm proud to sign Senate Bill 436, legislation strengthening Florida's law by ensuring repeat violent offenders face tougher consequences for their action. Right now, a second battery offense can be elevated to a felony if the offender has certain prior battery-related convictions. This bill adds a prior conviction for resisting an officer with violence to that list of pre-existing offenses. And so now those individuals will be held accountable in a more significant way. So I want to thank the members of the legislature who continue to put the pedal to the metal on this. You know, when I first became governor, and then Grady will tell you the story about this, the discussion in the legislature was about eliminating Florida's truth in sentencing requirements, letting people out early, not even having to serve their full sentence. And it would have been more akin to states like California and Illinois and New York than what we've come to be known as Florida. And I obviously opposed that, and we nipped that in the butt, as well as other things that were under discussion at that time. Now, I think people know, like, that's not even something you want to be discussing. I mean, certainly, you know, with me as governor, because I will stop it if it did. But the conversation has changed dramatically over the last 7 years. There's no question about that. The momentum is real, and I think these bills are proof positive of that. So we'll hear from some of our speakers. Then we will make it official and do the photos with that. Okay, so we'll start with the AG, then Commissioner Glass.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Governor. It's an honor to be here to fight for Florida's families and to lead our state law enforcement. I got to tell you, when I took this job a year and a half ago, I was a little bit nervous because we're at record crime lows. So if it ticks up, you know, even 1%, you know, I'm not doing my job. But we worked hard. We have increased our statewide prosecutions by over 50%. We've secured 30% more convictions than the year before, over 40% more human trafficking convictions. We've arrested a record more than 1,700 child predators, and we are putting bad guys away like never before. I want to thank the Rayner family for being here. One of the bills today is dedicated to Jason Rayner, who was killed in the line of duty, a Daytona Beach police officer, and his legacy will live on through these pro-law and order policies. Here in Florida, if you lay a finger on a police officer, you're going away for a long time. If you were a child predator and you're coming after our kids, you are going away for a long time. And we're eligible, we will seek the death penalty. So we're going to fight every day to put bad guys away, make this the safest state to raise a family, and I'm honored to do it. So thank you.
Mark?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Attorney General. Thank you, everybody here and legislators. I just want to say thank you for what a great package of criminal justice bills that y'all put through this year. So thank you so much for the hard work you did there. And thank you for everybody here attending. The Rayner family, my heart and love goes out to you and your family members on that. It affects us all. So you heard the governor talk about the different bills, Senate bills and House bills that went through this year. The Rayner family is an example of a reform that was needed, that the House did what they needed to do to enhance penalties on people who try to take violent assault on our law enforcement officers. As a law enforcement officer, being out there, and to include Senate Bill 436, which is felony battery, I can't tell you how many times I've arrested somebody, Chief, you know this, arrested somebody, and they had this on their record over and over, a battery on LEO, battery on LEO, battery on the LEO. But these people continue to keep getting out of jail or through the justice system, and they keep getting out, and it's just terrible that you're putting your life on the line every time you're having to deal with these folks. So these bills that you're seeing that the governor will be signing today is going to help that local officer, that deputy, that trooper, that special agent, that detective that's out there to do their job efficiently, effectively, and safely, and come home to their families. So I just want to say thank you for all that. Gangs on social media. Parents, if you're not paying attention to social media, what your kids are doing out there, you need to be. Because if they're out there doing their little crip walk and doing all their other little things they do on TikTok and all that stuff, trying to look hard and everything and do their Facebook stuff, or I'm dating myself with Facebook, whatever the new one is. I just say social media, it's easier that way. But if they're doing that and then little Johnny goes out and commits a crime, well, my cyber team, along with the Attorney General and statewide prosecutor team, we will go after them, and they will be labeled as such when they go in jail or prison. Now, remember this, little Johnny, if you do that and you're not a member of that gang and you go into prison, it ain't going to go well for you in prison, I'm sure, when that real gang is in there finding out that you're in there trying to be one of them. So just remember that, parents. Pay attention to that. Career offender registration. Been trying to push this for the last couple of years. The governor's office really helped push this through, and then we have some really great legislators on that one, and I want to say thank you for that, to get that through. Basically, giving the law enforcement officer on the street, being able to look at the ID and see that the person is a career offender. Career offender is not little Johnny going to steal a candy bar at the junior food store. Career offenders are the ones that have been deemed by the court to continuously keep coming through here, and these are your violent ones. These are the ones that try to affect your crime rate in your city, and these are the ones we want to pay attention to. So by that also, just looking at the driver's license or the ID card and that marking is on there, they already know who they're dealing with without even having to run the name. That's just something that is a very good thing that we have, and as citizens, you'll reap the benefits from that one. Meg's Law, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that we still have a lot of different things that are abuse in our country, in our state. However, I will say with the public safety reforms, the public safety stuff that we're doing here in our great state, the state of Florida, the free state of Florida, is not only going after the drug dealers and the pushers, but also there is other means and things that are out there for the victims that are falling prey to these folks that are receiving this type of drugs. Addiction is real. It affects all our families, and we should be paying attention to that in our families, and there's a lot of help out there. So if you do not know where to get the help, please just reach out to your local community. The state has plenty of websites on there, the DCF, FDLE, places we can help point you to the right place to get help. The First Lady has the Facts Your Future. You take a look at that as parents. It is a good way to arm yourself with information to help have victims in your family. With that, I just want to say, as the Commissioner of FDLE, it has been a blessing, and it's still a blessing to fight for truth, fight for securing the free state of Florida, and it's so much easier to do it with the leadership that I have here, and thank you, Governor, for your leadership on this.
Great. Okay.
Good morning, and thank you, Governor, for your leadership in making the steadfast commitment to keep Florida families and communities safe. At DBPR, our mission is to ensure that the industries we regulate operate lawfully, responsibly, and in a manner that protects the public. Through our Division of Alcoholic Beverages and Tobacco, we oversee thousands of licensed tobacco and nicotine retailers across the state, and we work closely with local, state, and federal partners to ensure compliance with Florida law. And today marks another important step forward in public safety as we transition to talking about the signing of Senate Bill 432 into law. The governor is strengthening Florida's efforts to protect young people, support families, and hold accountable the bad actors who profit from the misuse of dangerous substances. In particular, an important piece of this legislation is Meg's Law, and you've heard a little bit about her. Back in October, our law enforcement team, that's the second oldest in the state, conducted its largest felony operation, making over 80 felony arrests in 1 week to prevent the sale of nitrous oxide to minors. Through that operation, we led to hearing about the story of Meg Codwell, thanks to Representative Plakin and others, who is a young lady who, as the governor said, became addicted to nitrous oxide and eventually lost the use of her legs and then her life to this addiction. Unfortunately, her story is not unique, and we really appreciate her family, especially Kathleen Dial, who could not unfortunately be here today, but who shared the story and was extremely persistent in making sure that legislation like this was passed so that this dangerous substance cannot get into the hands of minors. And in particular, Governor, she asked us to tell you how grateful she is for your leadership on this important mission. Under the governor's leadership, the department turned our enforcement operation and the story of Meg's death and others into tangible policy. Less than a year later, we stand here as the governor signs and enacts that legislation. It highlights the true impact that advocacy and a commitment to public safety can make here in Florida. Specifically, the provisions of the bill, known as Meg's Law, make it a felony for gas stations, convenience stores, and vape shops to sell nitrous oxide. We know that that is the place that minors most often go to get the sale of these recreational products that are extremely harmful to their bodies, and this will be a huge step forward in making sure that those minors remain safe. There is targeted approach to focus on high-risk retail environments where access that has contributed to misuse, particularly among young people, is now prohibited. And it closes an entry point that has enabled recreational misuse and places clear responsibility on retailers operating under Florida-issued licenses. With that, we want to thank the governor for his leadership and unwavering commitment to protecting Florida families, and in particular, Senator Yarborough and Representative Plakin, as well as other members of the Florida legislature who are here today, including Representative Banks and Albert, for their support in enacting this measure. I'm also grateful for our law enforcement partners, including the DBPR team, the Sheriff's Association, public safety professionals, Chief Monroe, who is here today, and many stakeholders who worked alongside us throughout this process. And most importantly, again, want to extend a special thank you to Kathleen Dial and the entire Caldwell family. Through your courage, persistence, and willingness to share your story, and we know you're watching here today, you truly help bring attention to the dangers of nitrous oxide misuse and the need for meaningful action to address this problem. Meg's legacy is reflected in this law, and we are grateful to the Caldwell family for their dedication to protecting others. Again, thank you, Governor, for your leadership, and we're excited to see you sign SB 432 today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm extremely excited that everyone is here to see me today. Okay. Couldn't resist it. Governor, members of the legislature, our law enforcement partners, and everyone here today, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this important moment. Senate Bill 156 and Senate Bill 436 sends a clear message. Violence against law enforcement officers will be taken seriously, and those who repeatedly choose violence will be held accountable. The Officer Jason Rayner Act recognizes the reality our officers face every day. An arrest or detention can be challenged through the legal system, but it should never be challenged through violence on the street. When an officer is clearly identifiable and acting in good faith while performing official duties, a person cannot justify using a threatening force simply because the arrest or detention is disputed. That clarity helps protect officers, the people they are taking into custody, and everyone nearby. Senate Bill 156 also strengthens consequences for serious offenses committed against officers. It recognizes the severity of manslaughter when the victim is an officer performing official duties, and it increases the sentencing weight assigned to the battery on a law enforcement officer. Those changes reflect something every police chief knows. An assault on an officer rarely affects only that officer. It can place other officers, bystanders, and the entire community in danger. Senate Bill 436 builds on the same principle of accountability. It recognizes that a prior conviction for resisting an officer with violence should be considered when that person later commits another battery. It also provides stronger sentencing consequences in qualifying cases, such as when a reoffender batters a law enforcement officer and causes bodily injury. Our officers understand that risk comes with this profession. They willingly step into situations most people are trying to get away from. But accepting that responsibility does not mean accepting violence against them as simply a part of the job. These bills are not about placing officers above the law. They're about making it clear that the disagreements are resolved through the courts, not through violence, and that repeated violent conduct should bring serious consequences. On behalf of the Winter Haven Police Department and other agencies throughout Florida, thank you for standing with the men and women who protect our communities and for strengthening accountability when they are threatened, attacked, or injured in the line of duty. Thank you very much.
All right, if you guys want to come up here, we'll make this official. Career offender. Felony battery. Criminal offenses against law enforcement. Gang membership. Okay. All right, this is the intoxicating substances. Today's date is what? 16? All right. So there's Uno. All right. Gang membership. Okay. Dos. All right. Criminal offenses against law enforcement. Senate Bill 156. Alrighty. That one. Felony battery. pens. Yeah, why don't you guys get over? Why don't you guys get up here for a sec too? Who else? Anyone else? Did you get one? Okay. Okay. I got more. Anyone else?
Two over here.
Anyone else? All right. All right. Now, why don't you guys hold that one up? Someone want to maybe hold this one up for us? I'll do these two, and then I need one more help. So hold on. We're gonna be on candid camera here in 1 second. Just gotta get this going here. Okay. All right. Ready? Here we go. Cheese.
Got it. I got it.
All right. Good job, guys. There we go.